I always like to advise teams and really just think about your break down their current process and document which what areas do you like almost like grade yourself and your team, and what areas contain manual processes that have caused problems, whatever those problems may be, and really get introspective to bring it down into research, planning, prioritization, briefing, writing, editing, publishing, and promotion and optimization.
Yeah.
Right now, if I've got that journey for a page and I break down what is my research process, do I have one? Is it manual? Is it subjective? What's objective? Do I lean on any data points? Like a lot of people will lean on search volume, for example,
Yeah.
and that creates a lot of problems. Planning. How do I prioritize? Is it based on what my CEO says I should write, or is it based on what I want to do, or do I have a editor who I just trust their judgment? So you want to document it, and now get into the hit rate, right? All this manual, but how efficient is that process, and where are there solutions? Could speed that up. And then what's my current efficiency rate? So how much content do I create or update? And how frequently does it achieve its goal? Only batting 10%. So you can be my Coyle here, Billy. How much does a piece of content cost?
God, depends how good the writer is. Depends how good the writer is. But
Let's just say you said let's say you said $500. Then I said, okay, well, frequently does your content achieve its goal? 10% the average. How much does an effective content piece cost for your award? $5,000. Now, all the inefficiencies of time, you're getting 10% and you're losing all this time. Amy's here. Oh my gosh. That pain. And then the operations pain. So Billy, I don't know if you know, so is that Art is back. Oh my gosh, he came back after getting his ears blown out. Amy is one of the strongest content operations experts. So Billy, everything you talked about yesterday, she's done it, been there, done that. She's speaking at the show this week. So if anyone is in the chat, go check out Amy's session. Solid hour with hop-in tech support. And they analyzed that thing and they were like, we have no idea what happened. Can you turn off your computer and turn it back on? We went through it was straight out of T Crowd, if anyone doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Can you turn it on? Can you turn it on and off? Yeah, so good. Okay, so West asks the first question. Anyone from the wants to jump up, add 2 cents as well, if you're speaking and such. Let me know. I think we can probably figure that out. Question West asks, how do you overcome the hump of getting content from people who don't have a strong why passion for whatever they're creating the content for? Ooh, that's a great question for you, Billy. I've got a good one. Good answer. Yeah,
you got a good answer for it as well, have you?
I had a good answer. I tried to have a good answer for everything.
Speaking from my experience, I had sort of a lot of writers, and it was a matter of finding writers that were good in specific topics. And we ended up building a really strong content creation team overall, because some people do just write content better about certain topics because it's either an interest to them, or they've got some type of hobby, or they've done a lot of previous content about it. And I think it's a lot about finding those people. I don't think you're going to find your perfect writer straight away and speak on those topics. I think it's a matter of have to spend the time finding that one person that fits that niche that you're looking to cover. And that's how we went through it. It was finding writers that were good at specific topics. And, we'd view their content before it went back to the clients, and reviewing the quality of it. We would then determine whether this person was better for those specific topics, because a lot of the time we were doing our content creation. A lot of the orders we were getting, we'd find that we'd get a lot of service-based content, really. So we would have section our writers out. So it's when we got orders in, we knew exactly who that content would be going to, because we knew that they would produce the best content around this topic, because they've proven that from previous contents that we have delivered. You're just not going to find that perfect person straight. Oh, you can, of course you can, but you have to find that person that is good for a specific topic. It was how I found it anyway, is sort of You got to speak to loads of writers. We always had sort of like writing tests that we put them through. So we could obviously get a gauge on their quality overall. And then it became when they were doing actual client work, we would find whether or not they were a good fit for those topics. And once we'd found out that they could write on this really strongly, and obviously we'd have feedback from the clients as well saying that, hey, this was a really good piece. If we heard that back from a client, then we're going to keep that writer on that topic, or whenever we can, we're going to try put them on if possible. So that would be my answer to that question. I'd love to hear Jeff's take on it.
No, that's nailed. That's key. And I know that's a key to these process too. You have generalists and experts. One thing that we've done, and it speaks to, I think, questions Wes's and Eddie's, is creating content for quality and comprehensiveness, as well as performance for historical content. We can do that en masse. So very large publishers that we work with use us to do this, to understand not like which writers are good or bad, which they can do that. They can say who's producing great content on the reg, right? But you see then already been through developmental edits and copy edits that makes it to the site. So it's not necessarily the model of draft. Evaluating drafts as they come in for a topic. Is this exhibiting expertise, or are they peppering in words they found by copying competitors? You can get that specifically from MarketMuse. I'll give you a great example. You can get to Arnie's other question, which I think is a great part two. The major publisher who had a gentleman who was an amazing writer and ultra passionate about things, but he was being asked to write about Microsoft Windows, and he was also being asked to write about open source. You can look at the history of all the content that he's written. The Windows stuff was like, every single time he published something, it was better than every competitor from a lens of quality in MarketMuse. The open source stuff, not that he phoned it in, but it wasn't even close to the level of comprehensiveness. And if you talk to that person, and you have a conversation with them, you'll see they are passionate about Microsoft for one reason or another. Not sure who it is, and just, to do the other thing. Looking at content score from our perspective is a way to get that, right? So if I see that you'd be really good about kitty cats and rocket science and SEO and weaving hats together out of yarn, right? Can't really be good at all those things. Draft content tells that story. And so how do you get somebody passionate about writing? You can't get them instantly passionate, but you can get them excited about reference material, or that research equals performance, right? A good brief, for example, as a source of truth, can make them more likely to not be lost in the weeds or lost in the forest. What you don't want is to give them less information on something they're not passionate about than you could. That's the recipe for a disaster. So I'm answering your question with the thing that would make a non-passionate writer stop working for you. If you tell them, hey, go write this article about identity and access management, they have no idea what that even is, right? And then they write you a draft that they kind of eat and derive. You then look at it and you're like, this is terrible. And you give it a really rough developmental edit. That person likely won't work for you much longer. So your best thing you can do on a lack of passion is help with the why, get on the same page with a single source of truth, so that the feedback they get is actually going to feel collaborative and constructive versus punitive for the fact that they're not excited. Path is to only assign them stuff that they're excited about. Because Amy commented she loves to evaluate first drafts of the writers for editing. A critical thing. Spoken with agency owners at level of working with that companies like Elite Editing, content providers who critical because they want to see it. They want to understand, did their first draft, did it miss Fast Monster? We also work with a publisher, fast moving publisher who you'd be very familiar with, and all their metrics come out of MarketMuse. They require all their writers to evaluate their own content metrics because they've shown the relationship between this. They've also shown that a weird correlation, which I couldn't prove this scientifically, that when somebody has that gratification, whether it be money or performance, if they have some sort of vested interest in the site, they actually want to write more about those topics. This person's case, they're in the entertainment space, 50 writers or so, and like people want to write more. It's gamified, exactly West. Like didn't really care about Pokemon, for example, too, because I have a 5-year-old. Assigned me, hey, go write about the 6th Pokemon who only evolve on a transfer in Pokemon Go. Like, what the heck are you even talking about? This is so not interesting to me. But if I know that if I truly get into the weeds on that, build the best page that complies with this brief, it's going to do well. It's going to give me insights about what other stuff to write. And I'm going to have come into my bank account as a result of actually doing the best content item. Like, you got to figure out which are the things that I actually value. And for writers, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's gratification of a page ranking well. Though if they are an expert, it's a multiplier because an expert who's a great writer and a great storyteller wants their stuff on a page, wants to get that out there. You got to really understand the desires. If it's just money, okay, cool, lean into it. How do you feel about that, Billy?
Those last parts are very true in the sense of the different writers you can find. Like all of our writers, we were finding them on Upwork. So it was a grueling process because there's a lot of people on there, and people applying for jobs purely because of money. So they'll apply for anything and they won't read the job description barely. They submit generic proposals and stuff like that. So there was a lot of things to avoid. And one thing that I was always looking for was people submitting a tailored proposal for our postings, because if someone takes the time out to put a tailored proposal for that job specifically, write about it. Obviously, they need to earn money, of course, it's a job, but they want to take that on, and you sort of from someone's proposal whether or not they're going to be a good fit. I think there's loads of pitfalls when it comes to hiring writers, especially if you're using freelancer sites. So I think it was just over time, we managed to build like a perfect sort of checklist of being able to get the best writers, because at the start it was horrible, a matter of how much should we be paying someone per content? And it was trying to find the perfect middle ground when hiring these freelancers. It's a process that you have to just do over and over again to solidify, and you find your way of working through the different parts of it, whether it's managing the content or finding the writers. There's loads of little processes that all go into the sort of the content creation part of it. It's kind of like I said earlier about it's finding those writers that want to speak about specific topics. I like the way that we had it set up. We got it to a point where, because we wanted to scale with it, we had it at a point where we had a sort of a spreadsheet set up, and the writers we'd add the content that we needed creating, and the writers would go in there themselves and they'd assign themselves to the actual task. So it became a thing of, we knew who was going to take on that piece before. We didn't even really need to speak to the writers. We'd had people come in and they'd assign themselves to the actual pieces that they wanted to take on. And that really allowed us to be able to scale that type of thing. But I think building a solid content team was, which subject was the most popular. We did a lot of affiliate sites. So review content was a big one. That was very popular. I think it's changed a lot now with the updates from Google, because obviously a lot of sites have been penalized because it has to be a bit more, lean it towards being more genuine, I guess. Today, anyone could, and still, obviously, but it's like, it used to just be, no one has even ever used this product, right? Just writing massive reviews about 10 products they've never ever used in their life. And it's just like, I trust them. I can't go online and search whether something's good or not anymore, because I don't trust the affiliate sites. But it's, it's quite nice content to write about. So that was typically the popular one, or sort of service-based content like plumbing and painting, those types of sort of brick and mortar services, really. Those were the most popular ones. I think when we were actually doing it, we wouldn't get a lot of technical stuff. I think maybe some content in like the solar panel industry, that type of industry. It was more sort of review content and service-based content. So it was quite easy. I wouldn't class it as technical. There were some parts, but we were getting a lot of our, it was a mix. It was a mix, but Yeah, in terms of sort of being writers, it all start like having a great process. I think everything to be able to sort of smoothly, because my biggest worry was, is this piece going to be good? Especially when I've got a new writer, because you can't just sort of trial everyone. There was a lot of trialing of sort of getting someone on with a piece. And then if they don't do it right, it's like you've wasted your time on one writer and you've got to go back and find another one. So it was a lot of time of building sort of a roster of writers, really. I think once we'd had that nailed and we'd had a really strong team of writers, that's where we were really able to scale, because we could rely on the content coming back being really high quality. Just allowed for not having to do loads of revisions and sending things back and having to get rid of a writer and bring a new one in, because we knew how much content we would be able to take on, because we'd speak to the writers sort of about their living schedule and how much they'd be comfortable taking on per week. So we had a good idea of how much content we would be able to take on per week. And it really allowed us to scale. A bit of a ramble there. Yeah, just sort of like it all starts with having a good process for finding writers online. If you're using the freelancer sites, I think you should really have sort of like thorough investigation on who you're bringing in your team, really, because it makes a big difference, and it can just cause loss of time if you get a bad writer. And it's just, but it also depends on what you're giving the writer as well. You know, we started off by just giving the keyword. You know, when we're just starting out with taking orders on JIT, we would someone would place an order and it would just be with keyword and how many words they wanted. And when we were just starting off, we would just be giving the writer the keyword, write something about this. And we found once we started creating sort of in-depth briefs that sort of planned it out for them, and we gave them resources that we thought would be really good for them to refer to, because it might not be something that they've talked about before, but we know that they're a strong writer. If we give them a good resource to go to, they're going to be able to nail this more than likely. So once we started adding in sort of in-depth briefs for them, that was it then, you know, it's sort of easy sailing from that point. So I think it's all on really solidifying those processes as much as it can be sort of influence, and some people put the burden on the writers. There's so many factors, and I think it's just all upon really solidifying the process so it allows for you to scale, because it's those things that sort of can just stop you from being able to really progress forward, like the things of the bad content coming back. And also it's like the miscommunication as well when you're not clear on something. It's like when we were giving keywords out just to we were giving a writer a keyword, and then we said, oh, go write something about this, and they bring a piece of content back and they're like, well, they give me much. And it's you know, that sort of discrepancy, and you end up having an argument with the writers and stuff like that. So it is a two-way thing. You know, I think the more you give the writers, the way better content you're going to give back. And I that is by far the best way to do it, is you're setting your writers up for success. If you want your clients to be happy with the content they're receiving, and you want to minimize the sort of the edit and the reviews and stuff like that, give them as much as you can. Give them as much as you can, and they'll go with it. And like I say, once you've built up a solid team and they're on board with your processes as well, scaling is so easy. It's so easy. And they feel like they become part of the team as well. And they really want to do it. You know, what you're doing for your writers, the more they enjoy working with you, you know. Like I say, when we started off by just giving them the keyword to go write a piece, they probably spend about 3 hours just staring at the computer thinking, action do I go with this? So
So
the more
true.
you give them, you know, the more you give them, the more you're going to get back.
Yeah, I mean, that is like the definition of yes and LA West. Already give you, if you heard on it immediately, it's a great sign. Thing I would add there would be have experience interviewing SME subject matter experts if they aren't one. Have a resource or reference, like you mentioned, Billy. That can be very powerful. Mentions one of his clients has a whiskey shop, and finding a writer for this subject is a nightmare. Here's the thing, though. If you find somebody who's passionate about whiskey, you can't stop them from talking. It's kind of like CrossFit. Former brown liquor collector of myself, again, stop talking. So one thing you can do also is hire hours of of experts who aren't going to write for you, but you can provide that auxiliary resource for your writers to interview them and walk through a brief with them, record it. And if they're good editors, they can actually augment their lack of expertise with me time liquor, typically, I work with a significantly sized liquor website. Is how they've been successful because the people who they can find, the experts, they're not going to sit down and knock out a 3,000 word article. Those people's perspectives are above all. You really get the payload in that space. Like you're not going to know the nuance of a 99 over a WFE4. There's no possibility of someone knowing that unless they're a enthusiast or expert. And every niche has those things. So if you give them, the one thing you can give them with the brief is time with experts. It costs a little bit more to secure that clock time for reference material in the form of book reference, free reference, paying for access to things that aren't publicly available. That can also augment weird, like not all information's free and available. No, it's not. I mean, things that research access, a publication, a textbook. There's a path to that, and then one of those things is SME, interviewer time. But one of the companies I mentioned before, Elite, they are masters at this. They're always looking for that SME or subject matter expert to include in that process when appropriate. Really, I mean, it shows you the editors that are good too. I mean, a great editor can take the output of that conversation and turn it into lots of content. Steven Jetski on our team and Billy and my team, he's a master of that. He'll put us onto a Zoom, ask us 20 questions, and it'll turn into content for weeks. I'll love, developing that skill is the answer if you can't get writers for your whiskey shop. I'm sure you can find some talkers for that whiskey shop. And no, I'm not shaking. I'm not for hire, but right for the whiskey shop.
I'm surprised that you'd struggle to find someone for it. For that,
author the writing whiskey writing product reimbursements areas. I know the creator of whiskey site, another one that has done that. He's put in his incentives for his writers. It's kind of ironic, maybe. Jim, I know that he does that for his writers. That's hilarious. I'd love to write more, yeah. Incentives, but no, I mean, one thing is incentives are key too for writer teams, sales teams. So in the team that we work with, the top teams, later in the day, the articles get terrible. Like, I can't even taste the difference in these anymore. Where they work with their network to build out incentives, not just monetary recognition, certainly, but also building things where if the team achieves a particular goal, they all go to, I can actually say the real thing, but they all go to Albuquerque, and I mean, they don't actually, but that's into incent any team, right? You can have a 101 club, which is a popular sales thing, right? Beat your number, your quota by 100%.
Yeah,
you can have the same thing for your writers.
I think in terms of and keeping them motivated and consistent with the quality that they put out, incentives is definitely the key. Like we would offer an increase in obviously the pay rate, and we'd give them more responsibility. Someone that was always putting out good content. If they needed to take on some extra work with us, like if their content was really solid, a lot of the time we would offer them to do some editing, some extra hours, because I find we first started, I think we weren't, we were paying maybe $30 per 1,000, which it's a lot, but it was quite a steal, to be honest, especially for the quality of content we were getting for these writers. It's sort of gone back to working for another agency and trying to do the writing process again, trying to find good quality writers at $30 per. It was tough. It was, I couldn't find anyone again. So offering those incentives for my writers was definitely what kept them motivated in the long term to carry on putting out great content for us and not wanting to wander off elsewhere to do other jobs. So I think incentives is, like say, it's for sales, obviously, but for writers, I think it's just as important. If you want to grow with a team and you want them to stay with you, offering incentives, I think, is a staple part of that. So I would agree. Definitely agree.
And even more important, it's great writers when we have market. This is the ultimate amplifier for a good editor and writer. I mean, that's really built. I mean, the application side, it's to say, I can sharpen and turn it into like this knife there is. I can also take a super dull knife and make it reasonably sharp, where But then the decision-making side, the inventory side, what should we create? What should we update? Actually the most powerful piece, because if you go and hire all these writers and you get them all to write 50 articles, but there's no chance you could be successful with them, even if you wrote the best stuff. I mean, write the best brand new iPhone review, 10,000 words, beautiful pictures, me using it, and obviously I did it. Go throw it on Jeff's phonereview.com.
Yeah.
It's not going to do well. You throw that same thing on CNET and it's going to home. And the answer to that isn't links. It's because they've exhibited that expertise. They've got the breadth and depth of coverage. They've got that momentum. They've got the off-page power too, but they've written other articles about phones. They've written other review content items. So they told the story of expertise so that this is the follow through, right? We're not starting from scratch. So a lot of times people will focus on operations, but their real problem is in the decision making, or they're making decisions based on subjectivity or search volume and isolation. Makes you more competitively at risk than when you make your content decisions based on search volume. A good team, like the ones Amy runs, you off, chopping down the tree. Chopping down the tree. So is the end of affiliate marketing. End of affiliate marketing, Billy. What's a good question?
I was going to say, I'd actually love to hear your take on it. I talked about it before with sort of the Google is moving with it, of SEO Facebook groups and affiliate marketing Facebook groups. So can't remember when the update came out, but it's just post after post everywhere on my site. But I think it's fair. I think it's a fair update. If you're reviewing a product, you genuinely should have used that product, honestly. So I think moving in a more genuine direction, absolutely the right way. I don't think Google is wrong on that whatsoever. So I can't say, I don't think it's the end of affiliate marketing. I think affiliate marketing is now becoming more genuine. I think you're going to actually be able to make a good decision from I know how long it's going to take. I think maybe a few years before we get more sort of genuine content on the web for what we're looking for a review on. It's definitely going in the right direction from a consumer perspective. Absolutely. Because like I say, I don't go online anymore and search, is this a good product? Should I buy this? Or whatever? Because I just can't trust what Google's given me, because I know these websites, they're an affiliate sites and they probably haven't used that product. So I don't think that's a good person to tell me whether or not I should be buying that personally. That's just my outlook on it. But I think it will be the end of affiliate marketing. I think it's just going in a more genuine direction with it. And
that's nailed.
More for the consumer,
I mean, that exhibit expertise, you have to show that you are legit. The largest publishers, though, so I used to run storage review, PC review, printer comparison review, one of the largest communities on the web. They had a really good platform for actually testing and showing that their test plans were there. So they withstood the test of time. That stuff would vary. A lot of major publishers who have strong processes with real stuff, they augment with a little bit weaker, and they're struggling now. So just all publishers are struggling with this, not just alls. Is the end of bad content? One of my shadow missions is to rid the world of bad content. The goal is to standard for content quality, right? It's the angel and devil side. But is it the end of affiliate marketing? It's the end of quality affiliate marketing. It's common. Small business owner, you can't test all the products, right? That's unfortunately the situation. I have a friend who bought a distressed site that got hit by a product review update, and his first task was to raise capital to buy all the products that were reviewed on the site and rebuild the site. And it was huge investment. And did him that morning when that all went through, and he's like, "Man, I just bought 2 truckloads of pet products in this case." I said, "Do you even have a dog?" It's like that is something you're going to have to exhibit expertise wherever you find it. I think there's going to be a rise of for-hire experts who have reviewed particular products. They can actually be resourced. I think there's going to be a little hybrid things that manifest. But just like NF right now has raised the bar on Fiverr content, right? Write crappy content manually now. because you can go generate mediocre content, or because again, you raise the bar on what's reasonably going to produce value. So created the be careful of how deep I go on this topic, but it's created a sub network of syndication sequencing. And what that means is places where you can buy placement, right? That isn't like through Google AdWords, it's through other mechanisms. And you click on it, you bounce from one place to another to then get to a low quality affiliate site. So those low quality affiliate networks are still looking for traffic channels other than SEO. So they're still viable. It's just, are they viable search engine optimization, organic search channel as an outcome for that? Over time, the low quality ones won't be, but they're going to find ways to get clicks. They are in any one of your favorite news applications, and you scrolling through, and you see whether it be an Outbrain, a Taboola, a third party watch. Interested in the thing, click on it, watch what happens and where you land throughout that experience, and see whether you're actually landing on pages with sole goal is affiliate clicks. Two-step arbitrage path for a lot of small business owners trying to make money on affiliate. It's going to be the only path unless you level up your quality game.
Yeah,
I think I said that without saying too much. But yeah, so are the CNETs out there taking over? They're already taking over. Companies who have the ability to run efficient content operations and always going to have an upper hand. And so you have to do more. You have to be more strategic. You have to be more differentiated. You have to have your hook. Right? Not perfect by any means. You can chop down a tree. You can chop down Wikipedia's tree if you want. I used to do it as on the daily in my old in-house position. It's there. You have to be surgical for the resources, because nobody's probably reviewed X product the way that you'd review it if your goal isn't derivatives, to just be derivative. Exactly right. You can chop down a tree. It's not easy, and there are not a lot of shortcuts when it comes to expertise. That's the hard truth. Whiskey's all around when we realize that hard truth, right? Is that hard truth? You can't find a person who has, lived their whole life, find somebody who has the expertise of a veterinarian that isn't a veterinarian. Yeah. There's a pain management physician, right? Expertise on spinal cord stimulator device programming. There's 5 people maybe that know how to do that. There's maybe 50 or 100 in the world. If I'm building a site about spinal cord stimulators, to get it from one of them, take that expertise. I can try, but it's not going to happen. If I get into the details, I can maybe do a what is, awareness-based content basics of why one would want the St. Jude product over the scientific product. When it comes to those types of topics too, I'm in a dangerous game. If I'm or Billy, if you're writing an article, at least I have some sort of affiliation. If you're writing an article about whether you should use the St. Jude spinal cord stimulator, your site's going to just be basically brought out and shot. I mean, your money or your life zone. Great comment. I don't trust anything on CNET because it feels like they're simply monetizing data and don't have your best interests at heart. Your best. Many of them have best interests at heart. Sites are so much. Some of them are. You should know when you're watching them. You have to work your. Oh yeah. So by the way, if you're interested, Wes, if you don't trust syndicated sites, you should go research the user data market. It's changing with cookieless, not already third party intent data. It's a wild one. You have to work your content ops around where those customer experts live and do. Sometimes part-time writers means you have full-time experts. That's a quotable. I like that. Quotable. I like that one. Stealing that. No, I'm not stealing. I'll give you the attribution, but I like that. Do you have that experience, Billy, with your team? Did you have part-timers who were kind of your spot?
Yeah, we had a whole variety, people that we'd count on. But for sure, we had people that would just sort of, they'd be there part-time and just for sort of pieces, I guess. They would just be doing other work as well. But we had them on board with us because of their expertise, with them around, and they were happy to stick around for when we were getting those pieces on. So yeah, I definitely think it's important to have those as well. In terms of the affiliate marketing, I'm looking forward to where it's going, and I think it's opening opportunities for new people to come in. I think it makes it very selective as well in terms of what you do. Like you touched on, not everyone can test all the products. I think that then makes it a sort of more critical decision making really on deciding what you are going to pursue with your affiliate marketing. And I also think it opens the doors for new people wanting to give it a go and do it properly. Excited. And I think it's going in the right direction with affiliate marketing, honestly. It's all your sort of perception on it. And one who's got a load of affiliate sites and, it's sort of the traditional way, then be investing your resources accordingly, are in that position. But I think from a new person coming into affiliate marketing, I think it's a really strong place to be, a lot of choice out there. And I'll know you say about costs and stuff, that the whole cost side of things makes you have to be strategical about what you're going to be doing on your site. There's an abundance out there, cost is a big factor if you're doing these ticket, but you can do sites on these things that are just under $1, dollars, and it's still feasible as someone that's, working a job. If you're trying to get that affiliate site going whilst you're working a full-time job or a part-time job, I still think it's possible. And I think with building a brand being such a huge thing nowadays, knowing how to leverage things like YouTube and really getting going on the video side of things, I think that's huge as well. And especially with the way it's going with affiliate, I think getting a YouTube channel and reviewing them on there and putting a video onto your actual or pages along with the content, I think that is the best way that you're going to be able to build a really solidified brand within the affiliate marketing industry, build longevity for yourself. And so I just think it's I think it's a bad thing at all. And I think it's good for people that are currently doing it, because you should have made money from your affiliate site. Now be strategical and do it properly. Like you said, Jeff, you had somebody that bought all the products and they redid the content all over again. That's what you should do. If you had a successful affiliate product, this is the direction Google is going in, and they are strategically follow that, or else you are
at risk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're going to get stumped. And I think it's also great for people coming in as, newbies into it, taking a shot at it. So I think it's in a really good spot. Good spot.
I agree with that. And differentiated value. So like machines, you're the one. Is it Hoshizaki? Yeah. Those are not inexpensive. The Penguin. Those are not inexpensive products. A large refrigerators, that would be really tough. You're right. You'd have to figure that one out. I'm not sure how you do that. If you were and talk to the manufacturers, you have to get understanding of the value they're producing. We used to have to do that with storage review, or even notebook review, where they would give us review products that are flagged as review. You fill out forms, you get accepted as a review vendor. You have a window to review them, and then you have to mail them back.
Yeah.
So review unit.
Yeah.
So review unit is for some of these big ticket there. Consider in sometimes it's hard to get in those programs. So like with Dell, it's a little bit more difficult. Well, Sager and MSI and Sager Cleva, which is like a super high end. Like, they know you're doing good work and producing,
So that's just on the importance of building a brand with it, solidifying yourself within the market, especially if you're being niche specific within affiliate marketing. Building yourself a brand within that niche is going to allow you to really reap.
The catch, though, is be real careful with if it's Billy or Jeff and it's actually you and not in a character. If you're associating yourself with it, that personal brand, taking that actual brand, can make your resale value lower if your goal is to sell the site. So you want to be a character potentially, or someone who another human could be put into your place with the same goals as a business. But you want to be more like Blippi, who he then substituted another man wearing the same costume when he sold the business for 50.
Yeah, so you've got to be someone
like $1 million. You don't want to be, because it's a lot harder to get that through. I was the acquirer. Yeah, I was the acquirer of a personal brand, entities. For one of them, the name of the site was his name. So like about complicated to figure out how to get it through. So be thinking about that. You know, necessarily want Arn evaluates whiskey. You know, you might want, you know, whiskey fortune teller, and it just happens to be who could also be someone else in the future. To just prepare for that. That makes the value personality. Not saying don't create a personality.
No, not a point.
But Ryan, you know, Ryan's world, for example, be too much without Ryan.
Yeah.
So when Ryan gets too old, to build that into some sort of mega brand where it's just like people want to watch him grow.
It's there for Ryan at the moment, right?
It's all about, you know, and then you got to figure out, you know, choices you make. Sometimes it's inevitable, and you got to then build the brand around where you got to bring new things in that are interesting. See that well. Two small children, so a lot of my analogies are kid shows and things like that. Exactly. Business cannot be easily sold without that Ryan character. But there's so many examples of these with influencer marketing, so much in B2B. But one of them, which I'm very familiar with, actually, it's probably Madden, which was my example. Madden was a VMware expert. He still is. He worked at VMware, an amazing network. He had his own show. So it's a little bit more complicated when everything revolves around you. That hard to just flip out the kid, you know, change who the kid is, and then it almost be a character. You can't pull a deep cut reference, but you can't pull a Family Matters. There was a show called Family Matters in the 90s, and one of the daughters just disappeared. I just wrote her out of the script. Just wasn't there one day. You know, the actor changes. It's real awkward.
That raised his eyebrows. That definitely raised his eyebrows.
She just didn't show up one day, and nobody ever talked about her again. Go look that one up. But no, we're right about on the north end of the hour. Any last questions for us about review ice machines or anything similar? But Billy, thank you for the time. I think we'll get one more question if we've got one. Keep wanting to say it's Hojizaki is the. How can Google recognize AI content? See, you say the hard one for the end.
Throw it out there. I hate AI content. I'm not a fan of any of those AI tools. I actually despise it. So that's my outtake on it.
Well, like you. Yeah. It's just how they do it. So language models produce access to the language model itself. It can produce outputs that can be evaluated depending on the complexity of the language model. So GPT-2, for example, there are models that can recognize if something is built with base GPT-2 with any sort of tuning. So Hugging Face would be one to look at, right? So then you have the ability to evaluate traits and characteristics. When dogs, Hugging Face, go check it out. Then, super weird name. So the language models become more sophisticated, or they're able to be post-tuned or trained. Tune it with other data. You tune it with Billy's writing samples, for example, to make it write more like Billy. It's harder and harder. And so search engines have to do it as an ensemble approach. So they have to find collections of signals that raise red flags. So there are ways to define, it's kind of like positive drug tests, right? Ways to define that this is absolutely AI. So that positive is almost never going to be a false positive, right? And however, to catch the stuff that's really crafty, one needs to build ensemble approaches and say, this exhibits this signal. And that ensemble gives you a reliability or a likelihood of this being true. Then you can start to train models on whether those get validated or invalidated by other data sources. So if I have someone literally sitting there watching, it's like, this is your 50% or greater AI content crap, and someone watching this stuff, and then they go, yeah, that is, no, that's not, yeah, that is, no, that's not. Well, over time, that ensemble approach can get better and better, and you can do that via ensemble. Same can be done in the opposite direction. So it's cat and mouse. But that is the mechanism. Good question. No one can correctly say that they can recognize. I've experimented with ensemble approaches. I think it's a solution someone needs to build. Who's going to build it? Probably someone like me, but it's probably not going to be me. Because someone's going to build the thing. Billy wants to build it.
Don't really, I think the way that people are using it, they think that they're creating great content with it. But I feel like these people that are using these AI tools actually have no idea what great quality content is. They're people that aren't even writers a lot of the time. They're just, or they think they're writers, or they're new to writing, and they're going straight in using these AI tools. And so just hype as well that these people, I don't know if I'm allowed to name drop any tools.
No, you shouldn't do that. Yeah. Well, consider we had a solution in the States as well. So it's a direct competitor.
So I won't, but it's just like, I think the people using it are, I don't want to say all of them are, but I think it's like, I think they're new to sort of the scene and definitely don't have a knowledge about content marketing and the importance of great quality content. And also, I think a lot of them are lazy, just using this tool to sort of things done. Someone who wants to do a local rank and rent site, or they want to build an affiliate site, but as quick as possible. They don't actually have a perception of what great quality content is and how important that is in the long term. They just want to get stuff up as quick as possible. I think they just think that what it is spitting out is really good, because a lot of the time these products, they have a lot of hype around them as well. And the owners themselves, they really push it. And once it's built a really strong community, everyone loves it that's within there. But I find a lot of people that are using these tools aren't really great writers, and they don't know anything about what great content is and stuff like that. So I think it's sort of, they're in their own bubble. That's my take on it.
I think it's a strong take. And we're going to wrap in a minute, but kind of the last thought on that is there's amazing use cases that are valuable for the reader for natural language generation. Getting someone into reading something that's low quality isn't one. Geograph, for example, at Washington Post, told them to write articles that cover all the Olympic sports instead of 7% of them. It allows them to cover all the elections instead of only certain editorially decided. It allows them to not be biased as editorial opinion. And that's a great use case, right? A lot of financial data sites. I mean, availability of having actually data-driven content on every stock that exists. Really useful, because what's the alternative? There's no content on all the stocks, right? So there's incremental value of doing it. It also can be inspirational for a writer to see an approach that an NLG product produced. It should be inspirational. It should be to avoid writer's block. And that's what our product was built for. Any future incarnations that it takes inside our editor, it's really going to be focused on inspiration as replacement value, because the replacement value use case is just, the impact of it is, it'd be bad. And big businesses are liable for the content they publish. The susceptibility to penalization or negative. I mean, I treat it like an outsourced writer you've never met. Put it this: would you really publish that on your site? And so when you said no, that's Hannah's. If you expect, and so that's really kind of like my last word on AI content would be, I got some thank yous. People are hopping off, so we're going to close up. So it would be, treat anything you get that's generated or templatized as if it were an outsourcer you've never met. And Billy, you don't just trust outsourcers you never met.
No.
No. And thank you all for joining us for MarketMuse. Ask us anything. Billy, sign off.
Take care.
All right, take it easy. Bye-bye. Cheers.